Welcome to the Leaders of Tomorrow podcast, guys. Angie Lister here and Quinton Carroll. So really excited to have you. Why don't we start, Angie? What were you like before joining Student Works?
Before Student Works, as much as I feel like I've changed a lot, I think at my core, my values were still the same in terms of like loving challenge, interacting with people. Those were really big parts of my life. I always wanted to be a top performer in high school and sports and all of that.
Right.
And that's still the same now. I think the biggest part is just what I see being achievable. That was a lot smaller back then before Student Works. And a lot comes from seeing what's possible through other people. So I would say there's a lot of who I was that was the same, but just in terms of, it's like when you're playing a video game and you only see a certain amount of the map and it's not fully loaded yet. But now there's just like more clarity around what I want from life. And that's what I would say.
I love that analogy. I think that's a great analogy of what Student Works provides. So what about yourself, Q?
Yeah, thinking back to myself before the program, I think I've changed quite a lot since that time, and I know we've talked about it before, but where I was in third year of university, really going down the route of science. My major was biomedical science at the time, and so I was considering many different options in that field. And I'd say I would describe myself as being I would say more reserved and less confident and less certain about what I was doing, where I was going. And so when this opportunity, presented itself to me, and really immediately I was like, okay, this feels so much more right. And I was way more certain about it. And so now getting to be a part of the program for 5 years now, and really to kind of live into what feels more right for me and just the world of business as compared to what I was doing before. And so, for me, I was really able to develop a lot more confidence and in my skill sets as well. And just, more certainty in kind of where I'm headed.
Okay. You were mentioning about attraction. So what attracted you to join the program?
Yeah, I think at first it was the opportunity to, be your own boss and be 100% in control of your financial situation, and for the first time ever really be compensated for the amount of value that you provide to the world. And so that was really enticing for me, and was really looking for more just something different, something to really start separating myself from all my peers. At the time, I really still was considering applying to medical school and other things. And so I knew that it's obviously super competitive, and I wanted to do something that would help me stand out, that I knew no one else was going to do. And I was like, okay, I know none of these other people are going to run a business. And so I was like, okay, well, if I can do that and maintain really great grades, then that's going to help me stand out. And so that's what I was looking for at the time. And little did I know I would just completely love business entirely and want to continue down that path. But that was kind of it for me when I first found out about the program. And of course, knew a little bit about it beforehand as well through my dad. But really, when I first went to the information sessions and learned more from my coach at the time.
Great. And what about yourself, Angie?
What attracted me? Well, there's what attracted me to the program and why I actually did it. There were definitely things that I liked about it. The reason I did it, I would say, because I was working on a crew before, and that's how I heard about it. I was painting houses. And I remember later in the summer that my operator asked the two other guys on my crew if they wanted to do it. And he never asked me. And I was like, what the heck?
I agree. What the heck? Was he ever wrong?
Yeah. So, and I, back then, like I said, really liked the challenge, just want to be a top performer. And so when he didn't ask me, I guess I was like, did he not think I could do this? And kind of surpassing someone's expectations, I guess that's ultimate form of a challenge. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this and be a rock star. And when I look back now, knowing me, liking challenge and always wanting to pursue what's next on a path, it makes sense why I wanted to do it, because as a painter, there's two paths you can go down. You can either be the best painter in the world, or you can go and run a business, be the best business owner. So that just seemed like there was more of a path there. So it makes sense why I chose it, but there definitely wasn't like a grand reflection back then. It was like, you don't think I can do this? I'm going to do it. And then here we are.
And so what have you learned that has most surprised you, Angela?
I would say there's a lot. I think if I try to sum it up in one, it's how much shows up in other areas of your life. So when you learn how to run a business, it can feel like just that at the beginning. You're learning how to run a business. And then we talk about how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so just the things that I was learning and practicing in my business and having that impact my relationships and like how I show up for myself, I would say that's like probably the biggest thing that surprised me, right? That was the question.
Yes.
Yeah, that would surprise me the most. Like the most that I learned about myself and through the challenges of running a business, but also through the people I met along the way and how much came from the people that I met. So just seeing other people do what's possible and helping, like I said before, kind of expand what I thought was possible. So I would say meeting people that are just super impressive and inspirational was very surprising than what I learned about myself in other areas too.
Fantastic. And Q, what about yourself?
For
What's most surprising, or when you look back, what have you learned that has most surprised you?
Yeah, I would say what's most surprised me that I didn't really know what I would develop was how much, like I knew I was going to get the soft skills of running a business. Like that's what originally attracted me to the program. And I had no idea how much that would be able to transition to every other area of my life. And so I'd say just like the communication skills and the ability to sell and influence and lead and build and develop a team, and how useful that is in other areas of my life, and really the communication and the sales skills and how important those are in other areas of my life, whether that's communicating with friends and family or my girlfriend, and just really the ability, I guess, to kind of get what you want in other areas of your life and manage your way through conflict and situations that I wouldn't have expected, that like how much of an impact the business would actually be able to apply to other areas of my life as well.
Okay. And what about you, Angie? What examples would you share about how the program has helped you as a person outside of your business?
Well, as much as I, shared before about how much I love interacting with people growing up, I think I always thought that I was an introvert. I would go out, make friends and like really connected with people. And at the end of the day, I wanted to come home and be by myself and like watch a show or whatever before bed. And I didn't really realize this until a couple weeks ago. I was doing a meeting with one of my operators and he asked me if I thought he was an introvert or an extrovert. And I said, no, extrovert. And he was surprised too, because he said the same thing. At the end of the day, he likes to come home and kind of be on his own. And like, Lorenzo, you chose to run a business. So do you really think you're an introvert? This is like the most social job you can get. He's like, well, you chose to be a business coach. And I thought about that. And so I have changed a lot in terms of that over the years. Like used to just really want to be kind of on my own and saw independence as a virtue, but I'm really good at being alone. And in the past couple of years, focusing on spending more time with other people, that is just the most fulfilling, I would say. And when it comes to how this job has helped that, it's such a social job. So it's just put me in a lot of positions where I get to be with other people and see the value in that.
Right.
So yeah, that's definitely quite surprising. Realized just a couple of days ago, I'm like, man, maybe I am an extrovert. Surprise.
Surprise. Yeah. Because I think what my understanding of extrovert and introvert is, and they say ambivert, someone who's between it, is what feeds my energy. And so for me, it seems hard to imagine you're not an extrovert. And just seeing you in all the ways that I've seen you over the years, and I can see as well, maybe you do need some time alone to recharge, but it certainly seems like a lot of the culture that you experience is feeding your energy. So maybe both things do. And again, it's good to just go and look and labels as well are sometimes can be really powerful and helpful, and sometimes can be something that don't help us. So, Q, what do you think you're going to remember 20 years from now from your journey with StudentWorks?
I would say number one, I'm going to remember the people
Mhm.
100%. And, that stems back to the people that I had when I was operating. And so obviously my first coach and the people that I was friends with, other operators, and I know they're some of the most important people in my life today.
Mhm.
And I would expect that to be the same, even 20 years from now.
Mhm.
And so for sure the people. And I would say the other thing that's going to stick with me beyond all else is just like remembering the grind and thinking back to those. I still think back to those really tough times in the cold, in the winter, knocking on doors, your hands are bleeding and you're just still going. And I think that in the future, looking back on that's going to be useful when I'm faced with, new challenges, and just the ability to kind of think back and remember that, there's always a way to kind of, get through it. And even if you can't really see the way of getting through it. And I think that that's kind of where I'd say I see a lot of people kind of fail in a sense, or stop, is when they're receiving a lot of failure. And I think just the ability to just keep going. And even if you don't really know, you can't really see the way out, but the courage or stubbornness to just keep going and going and going. And when you can't really see how you're going to get through it, but just keep taking one step at a time. And so I know that the skill of just like grinding is what I'm going to be able to keep with me for a long time. And I'm sure I'm going to be looking back at these times for a while.
Yeah, as a real legacy. To me, it's about hope. If we can just
Mhm.
always hold on to hope, we won't give up. And you've got real reps holding on to that hope during times when you weren't that confident. And so later on in your life, I think you feel more and more confident, or that's what I've experienced over my life. And I just like, okay, done these other challenging things, I can do this. So
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like it's worked out and you don't know how it's going to work out. Just like trusting that it is going to work out and trusting that you're going to do what it takes to make it work out.
yeah. And what about yourself, Angela? 20 years from now, looking back.
Yeah, two things kind of come to mind, and both of them actually kind of have to do with what Q was talking about. So, first one, it's kind of sappy, but like anything's possible. Like, and I was thinking that's what I would say to myself, even like a younger version of myself, because just through I can't say it enough, just by meeting so many great people and seeing what's possible, that is what initially gave me the courage to go and do really challenging things. And so you get to a point where you don't need to see that from other people anymore, and you just know that anything's possible. So that's what I would definitely take away. And also a big part of my life is the challenge and loving that. And I feel my best when I do something challenging and hard every day, and a lot of people do. And I feel like everyone has a different kind of purpose in their life, but I really truly feel like mine is happiness through the pursuit of meaningful challenge. And I think that's for a lot of people as well. And so being in Student Works was just a great opportunity to affirm that. Just lots of challenges every single day, and a lot of ways to just change how you feel about yourself through what you're doing. So I would say I would definitely remember, yeah, like kind of like the grind, like how important it is to have challenge in your life, and that it is for a reason, because you can do anything as long as you're in the grind and challenging yourself.
Yeah, I love it. And the ancient philosophers and the positive psychologists all agree a great life is going for the far off challenge and, the pursuit every day, becoming the best version of ourselves, going out and doing it, and know we're going to trip, we're going to fall. And that's fun. That's exciting. And then it's even better when we can do it with a bunch of really great people, because that'll inspire us. So, talking about inspiration, Angela, heading into this 2025 season, what are your goals and what are you hoping to learn?
Well, I could get grand and then also very specific. Like big picture, I would say my goals, I don't know, like always keep learning and challenging and continue reflection, like journaling. It's a big part of my life.
Yeah.
And I love talking about that. So I would say just big picture, I want to, just continue like pushing myself and also people on my team. I said this to them, like I promised them I was going to bring it back to your why. And that's something I want to do a lot more this year, like really reflecting on impacts and not only the downsides, but like towards my future, like what's this grand life that I could live if I'm sticking to these positive habits and putting in these positive changes. So that would be more big picture. But if I was to get like really specific in terms of my life, like for my operators, I want to see a lot of them in Mexico. I really want to see some of my operators become coaches.
Yeah.
For myself, trying to get back into reading. I'm a pretty slow reader. I'm just trying to go through 12 books this year, like once a month. And health wise, I'm also a slow runner. I'm trying to do a 10K in under an hour, which is pretty average for people in student work. So I'm just trying to be able to go on a jog with the coaches. So yeah, those are my goals for the year.
Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. And Quinton, what about your goals and what are you most excited to learn?
Yeah. So our big team goal for this year is we're coming for the record.
All right.
So, we're coming for the all-time most, painting revenue produced by a team in a year. And so I know the team, the boys are really fired up to do everything we can and really setting that team goal. I didn't really realize the value in setting that goal until I set the goal and how much everyone's still talking about it. And it's like, we want to hit it. And this is the first time I've really set a goal for the team. And it's really interesting to see how people have actually come together more instead of having individual goals. And in the past, I have not really set goals for what I wanted to accomplish, like with an overall, because, I wanted to make it more about each individual person, each individual business. And I just kind of threw that out this year and they're like, yeah, like let's do it. And so it's been really great. And I think people are feeling the need to do extra, do more, because they don't want to let the team down. They want to be a part of the record breaking year. And so that's, I would say like my biggest goal for this year, within the program, within Student Works is that. And then, really just looking to become the best version of myself and every asset. I'm not trying to set too many goals.
Right.
I'm just trying to have a few goals that are, really important so that I can, really work on them. And so, one of them just being the fittest version of myself, strongest, fastest. And, I got some stuff that I'm training for this year. And so, taking fitness and overall health very seriously at the moment, and going to continue that for a long time. But really, those are what I'm honing in on for this year.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, and it's one of those things where as a leader, the overall team goal is inspiring for many, not all, but for many people on a team. And it's kind of like we had the chance at the University of Toronto to win a national title. We won 4 titles. A bunch of people held back their school so that they could come back, and because it looked like we had a real shot to win the national title, and so we had more players or swimmers, as it were, and we ended up winning. And yes, I guess everyone was, of course, super excited about their individual results, but there just is something to life about really powerful results and how it all just draws us into higher and higher levels of performance. And I think that's what you're seeing with your team, which is super exciting. So, Angela, what attracted you to coach other students with the Student Works program?
Well, this is kind of like when I got into running a business and got accepted. There's what attracted me to it, and then like probably why I actually did it. I remember it was January, and Kathleen and Maddie, like my friends that were operators, they were both talking about coaching, and I hadn't really thought about it in a while. And so I kind of felt behind. I was like, oh my gosh, this is something I need to think about. And this was in my 3rd year operating, which was a big year for me because it was after 2 years of setting a really big goal and not hitting it. So my confidence was pretty low. And I remember asking Luke, he eventually was like, have you ever thought about coaching? And I remember saying like, I've not done anything like it. So just give me responsibilities so I can see what it's like. So when I say I want to do this, like I'm really sure about it. And that's what I said at the time. But I think what it was like my confidence was really low. So I almost like wanted opportunities to prove to Luke that I could be a coach. And so like little challenges along the way. And then while doing that, it was just something that I really liked and kind of made sense because it was just more challenge, more spending time with people. And when you work with people, you learn a lot more about yourself. And that's another big thing that I really like. So it makes sense why I chose to do it. I think back then it was, the next challenge that made sense for me. So that's why I went into it. But I could kind of like see now, like, of course, hindsight's 2020, but it definitely makes sense. And that's probably what attracted me to it.
Okay. What about yourself, Q?
Yeah. So I think I wanted to be a coach like as soon as I was in the program. I don't know why. I can't remember like at the time, like, what it was that had originally attracted to me. But I think a part of it was the coaching team at the time, and just like looking up to them. They were great role models, and my coach as well, great role model. So I think it really depends on like the coach you have too, and if you want to follow in their footsteps. And so I was lucky enough to be in good hands there. And that's kind of what originally, when I first joined the program, had me attracted to it. And I guess when it kind of came time to actually apply for the job, it was those times where I was like, I already had the experience in the program, and I was really motivated to be able to give that same experience to other people as well. And I knew, what an impact the program had made on me, and everything it had done for me, and just the opportunities it's opened up for me in the future. And so I was passionate about being able to help other people also kind of tap into that as well. So that's kind of where the motivation came from, and I saw little parts of that in my own business while operating as well, and started to pick up on what fulfilled me the most, and like helping other people get their big wins. And so that's what I think about nowadays too. What motivates me the most, and why I keep doing it, and my highlights of the year are always when people get their biggest wins. And so that's kind of reminds me of why I continue to keep doing it, and it's fulfilling at the end of the day when we can keep making those impacts.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things we always like to highlight is we have, many outstanding operators who choose not to coach, and they certainly might have an opportunity to earn the right to coach. And the big distinction is what gets you really excited, you winning or your team winning. Mm-hmm. And coaches get way more excited about their team winning, and then as a result, they win. But it's kind of that's the thing, and that's what we're always looking for. And so, for people like Angie, who maybe it wasn't clear, we're okay, here, take this on and see how it goes. And then one of the questions Luke would have been asking is, first of all, hey, how did it go? Is Angie having an impact? And then the second thing is, how'd you like that, Angie? And Angie liked it. So those would have been the reasons why, a number of years ago, we brought both of you on, and then again, you go and have an experience, and you do well, and then also you like it, which then means you spend more time doing it. And it's like when people are calling you all the time, you're excited and you're motivated, because that's the game. We're excited and motivated to have everybody win with us, right? So Angie, what skills have you learned through coaching that you didn't learn while running a business?
Well, I think as much as coaching is like that next challenge I wanted to do, I think if someone did continue to run a business to a really high level, they would become a coach in a way in their business. And so there's a lot of skills that they would learn there too. But there just are skills that, I learned since being a coach. And I would say most of them are around, or at least for me, the most memorable are just working with other people. I'm talking about other people a lot, but you learn a lot about just how people tick, and every different kind of person. You're always working with someone different, and different things like frustrate you and like get you excited as a coach. And so I learn a lot about myself as well through that. So like, what am I taking really personally? Like, what bothers me? But what do I really want to work on with them? And then I just have more opportunities to reflect on that and learn a little bit more about me. So I would say what I've learned skills wise, I guess I keep talking about reflection, but skills, I think, just improved skills of communicating with people. And I really do like just meeting new people. I think when I talk about with my friends, and even just the past couple months, like been going on dates and kind of getting out there, they're always like, oh my gosh, are you like nervous for a first date? I'm just like, no, this is what I do. This is my Super Bowl, like meeting new people and chatting it up. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing, like connecting and having great conversations.
Yeah, for sure. You'd be very strong at that, for sure. One moment, this dropped on me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So Q, what skills have you learned through coaching that you didn't learn while running a business?
I would say I leveled up a lot of my skills and really yeah developed the next level here
Right.
of scalability and of leverage. And so, I'd say some skills that, use a lot of the time, use even while operating, obviously, sales and the ability to influence other people. And it really, well, coaching, we're still doing a lot of selling.
Yes.
We're selling the idea of like, hey, this is why you should go home this weekend and work on your business and not do the party, and, why it's going to help your longer term, the vision for yourself. And that kind of leads into the ability of a skill of enrollment. And that's something I did not really learn or think I was doing as an operator. And I get to do a lot more of it as a coach now. Really, like just like yeah, so many skills
Yeah.
of being a coach and the leadership. Got to step into a much bigger role here. Now I lead a team of 20 young entrepreneurs, and so the level that asks of me is a much higher level of leadership than was ever previously required for me. And so that's been really awesome getting to step into those shoes. And even just the recruitment of all of these operators, that's been a really helpful skill. Again, just more sales, and then just leading them and helping them really build and grow. So many skills, but yeah, like all those ones, they were leveling up, and a few new ones here and there as well.
Right, right. And yeah, and one of the things I think certainly that one of the big advantages our coaches have of is working with the most elite part of the group. So it's just true as the coaches have been here for the longest. They're the most highly skilled, have the highest levels of integrity, and so those are the coaches. And that we have some amazing operators who do. Again, we have a group doing over $1 million for their whole years in the program. But so that's another thing I think the coaches program offers. So Q, what how do you see this skill set helping you with your future in life and with your future in business and your personal life?
hmm Yeah, and I think just going back to my last point of, I think there's like so many skills that are going to be useful in the future, my personal life, my business, but a lot of them just kind of boil down. They're subcategories of leadership, of the ability to communicate or sell, and the ability to build.
Mhm.
And so like those three things are going to be super important to me in any future business that I'm in, or whether I'm running my own business or if I'm a key part of another one. And in just my personal life, the ability to lead a business or the ability to lead a family, lead anything. And so those three skills there are going to be, what I take with me and what I keep. It was going to be very useful for me in the future. And I think one other thing too is just we talk about it all the time, but obviously just the meaning and the value of your word, and so keeping that top of mind at this point, that is very much ingrained in me. And so that's extremely useful, and I use it in my regular everyday life. And even though that regular everyday people don't necessarily think that way or see it that way, that's helpful for me, when I'm communicating with people or I'm making judgments in the real world as well. And so yeah, just the value of integrity in your word is something I'm always gonna keep with me as well.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And certainly a big focus, as you know, of our business is make sure people understand just how valuable doing what you say is and keeping track of your word. And certainly we believe that although sometimes people may not be quite as aware of it, the most successful people that we would determine success out in the real world are very, very aware of that and keep real accurate track of that.
Mhm.
So that high level of integrity. So what about yourself? How do you see this skill set helping you with your business, future in your life, business and personal life?
Yeah, well, I would just double down on everything Quinton said for sure. In terms of what I want to do, that's still in the sorting out stages. And I see coaching as, well, such a big part of it is having really productive conversations. I think if I were to boil it down to as small as I could think, like that just shows up in every part of coaching. And then when I think about what I want to do with my life, in all areas, I wouldn't really know where. I wouldn't want to have really productive conversations and just be able to get the most out of everything with my different relationships. So I would say, yeah, like if I see it showing up 100%. And I think with being a coach and having to work with so many different people and caring about so many different goals and how you're having these conversations, you really test your presence and how intentional you are. And I think that's really important too. I want to be someone who's very intentional in what I do. And like, just, I feel like that comes down to like soaking the most out of life and really taking advantage of every opportunity. So I would say, yeah, in terms of how it's going to show up, just like still being super present, really intentional with what I do in the future and having really productive conversations.
Okay. What has been one of the most memorable moments of being a coach?
Uh, there's a lot. It's just such a fulfilling job. Well, when I think about what I enjoy the most about life, I talk a lot about challenge. So it really fires me up when I see my operators challenge each other, like challenge relationships and learning. Those are things that I really love. So when I see them firing each other up and working together, and it's almost like I don't even need to be there, and they're just like on each other's backs, keeping each other accountable, makes my heart warm and makes me want to smile. And I think a good amount of people that become coaches, like they have really high standards for themselves, and that could come from just being like really, really hard on themselves. So I'm someone where, I think my inner nature is like quite hard on myself. I know Luke and I talked about this a lot as he was coaching me. And so I also see it just when my operators will tell me when something was really impactful, which means a lot because sometimes they're telling me something that impacted them. And I'm like, I didn't even see that. And that was a huge blind spot for me. So just when they reach out and talk about the relationships that they have now because of something that we did together or something that they really gained from something that I had said. So when they actually bring it up, because it's easy to think like always, how can I be the best coach and what's next, and not like reflecting on what you have done. So I would say those are probably the most memorable.
I totally see that. Quinton, what about yourself?
Yeah, for me, of course, I'm always going to remember like the payroll events, the fun times, with the team, and especially when during the preseason, your rookie operators, they don't see a side of you that's like more fun. They see only business, and it's like we're just straight shooters. And I really love getting to the summer and just getting to really blow off some steam with
Right.
everybody and just like go to mega roll or rafting, and of course getting to go to Cancun, Mexico for a week. All those things are very memorable. Getting to share those experiences with peers and my operators in the program. And the other thing too, just kind of goes back to one of my last points of just seeing the wins, within the operators. And, so this time of the year that's something I look forward to every year is those first sales, the first estimates, and really just getting to see people see that this works. And so it's usually, in the next few weeks or so, and we're with a rookie operator and we just finished a day of estimates and we just booked, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 in work. And you just kind of see the world of possibility light up for them. They're like, wow, like, obviously I can make a lot of money doing this. And at the same time, just like they start to see, what they're going to be able to create for the year. And then they, their goals become reality. Like, wow, I actually can do this. And so it's really the point for me that everything we promised for the last 4 or 5 months really starts to come true. And then that repeats again when we start to do production. We start to get some, final payments and that kind of stuff as well. But yeah, really seeing those wins and making that a reality for people is no specific moments, but all the moments that I've had with people, regardless of the person, for those first wins, really stick out to me.
Yeah. Well, why don't I answer that question? Because that's a fun question. So I'm gonna, rather than naming the operators, this happened a number of times in my history as being a coach. It's not the one who goes and breaks the all-time record, and those are obviously hard to not remember, and that's really fun. The people who are off to, and likely they'll be back on my podcast in the future. You already know it. They're just incredible, and we attract amazing people to our program because the reality of those people we're going to win anyhow. We added some, but the people who come and go, there's just no way I would have gotten through this without you. And I just feel like this made such a difference, and I see so much more for me as a result of that. And to me, that always stands in the space of something that I always try to put in the space of our coaches is we want to be our people's biggest fan, and just live into that every day, every week, all the time, and just we know what's possible for them more than they know what's possible for them, right? And we know what they're capable of, and that we can go do this, and it's just so fun when we see that, and again we see that throughout the spectrum of the success that we get. So, but Q, one of the things that you in particular have done is performed at like an elite, top two operator, and then Dean's List, in med sci. So not could have gone to med school, but hey, potentially could have gone to med school. Would have had a really great app. And I know I know you didn't write the MCAT, or I don't think you did.
No.
Because your ideas were changing. But how do you look at being able to take something like this on and still do well in school?
I think it kind of goes back to what I said earlier, which is like you don't know how you're gonna make it work, but you just know that you're gonna make it work.
Mm-hmm.
And for sure it was really hard and challenging, but I share this all the time with my operators, like life is that way anyway. It's always going to be hard, it's always going to be challenging and stressful, and so you get to choose what that looks like, and you kind of get to choose when you pay that bill. You either pay it up front or you pay it down the road, but you're paying either way. And so for me, yeah, it was just like, it actually, I was listening to some podcasts the other day too, of how working on multiple goals at the same time actually just supported each other. And so, at the time I was, really like dialed in on every area of my life, with fitness, relationships, school, and my business. And so I think it all helped. Actually, starting the business helped everything else as well. And so I was able to raise my average by, I think, like 14% from before I was doing student works to after doing student works, to my first 2 years of university to my second 2 years of university, and really helped from developing better habits. And there was no longer an option to procrastinate, and I was a big procrastinator beforehand. And so when that was no longer on the table, I was magically far more efficient. And so I think a lot of people don't realize how much time they have and how much more efficient they could be, and how much more they could take on. And so I even look back at things that used to be hard for me, that used to take a long time. And obviously it's a part of just, the more you do it, the better you get at it, and then it takes you less time to do it. But also just like your plate, you grow your plate, and you can take on a lot more when you're choosing it. And so, that's really, really what it was. I was concerned about it, taking on the workload. And when I first, that was my biggest concern. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, and I'm just going to try anyway and see what I can make happen.
Yeah. I think so many people are limited by the tyranny of or. I can do this or I can do that, and that runs them their whole life, instead of the genius of and. And the genius of and allows us to, like you said, grow the plate bigger. And in fact, everything will support each other to do more. And it means eliminating a bunch of things like our phone addictions and our, Netflix, and different things, and saying, hey, what's more important? And obviously your school, your business, your personal life, your fitness was more important. Those other things, I'm sure also changed.
Certainly. Yeah. And that's something I've been doing a lot of coaching on recently, as well as, putting yourself in the future, at the end of August, at the end of September, looking back on your season, and really thinking about, what is going to be most important to me at that time is the extra marketing sessions and all the additional work towards your business and your goals. Because really, the coaching is, you're voting with your time what's most important to you. And so all the time spent on Instagram or anything is just like, you're casting your vote every time with like what's important to you. So I think really making that clear to people of what is going to be important to you in those 8 months, or many years down the road, and trying to make your decisions in the present, thinking way in the future as well.
Love that. Love that. And so, sort of speaking of those habits and those good habits, Angie, what would someone, a leader listening to this podcast want to take from some of the good habits that you have and exhibit in your business and your coaching?
What would someone want to take from my good habits? Hmm. Well, I tease about it a bit, but journaling, reflection, I can't shut up about it. I think I like talking about it so much, and I'm so confident in sharing about it because I didn't come up with it.
Yeah.
So it's not my idea, but whoever did, that was good.
It was good.
And yeah, just having something where you're reflecting. I think starting every day where you're questioning how you want to show up and having a constant reminder of who you want to be throughout the day, always reflecting on your goals. And yeah, he was talking about thinking of the future. So that's a big part of it. Like, who do you want to be 1 year from now? So who do you need to be today to do that? So I think that's just the easiest way for me to remember that. And the more I reflect, it just becomes how I actually think throughout the day. It's kind of like when you're growing up and your first sleepover, your mom's like, say please and thank you, remember, and she tells you a bunch, and then that just becomes who you are. Like, you are a polite person. You don't need your mom to tell you that all the time. So I feel like the more I reflect, I'm just like remembering who I want to be, and I don't have a time throughout the day where I'm like, oh, why did I waste my time on my phone? That's not my goal. Like, I know my goal is to do this. It's like less and less do I have to reflect on those things to remember. It's part of the way that I think, and then as I learn new things that I want to add to my mindset, I'm just like throwing that in my journal questions, so I can just, it's like nice to customize who you want to be.
Yeah. And so you're just intentionally choosing who Angie Lister is now and is going to continue to grow into, and that's pretty cool. And so yeah, that's a wonderful habit. What about yourself? Any habit that you'd like to share that you think is a really strong one of Quinton Carroll?
Habits. Yeah, I think limiting, not having like a million habits to kind of keep you in line for everything. Just having a couple like keystone habits, which we talked about at the coaches retreat this year.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be different for everybody. What their keystone habit is, and so what a keystone habit is just for the people listening. Is just like a habit that helps you create other good habits, kind of like a domino effect. And so for me, just like it's my centerpiece, just like exercise and working out and training. And so I know like if I'm a little off, and it's probably because I haven't worked out recently. And so really I know like that's a priority, and then that leads into sleep, because I know I'm really busy, and so if I'm gonna work out, it's gonna be at 6 a.m, and so I need to get a good sleep. And recently I'm really prioritizing sleep and how important that is. And I've been going to bed at like 9 p.m., which is like crazy for a lot of people. And so I think sleep and obviously nutrition adds in too, because if my main habit is working out, then obviously I want to support that with nutrition and sleep. So I think, and that helps me in every other area as well. It helps me in my business, and the more fit I am, the better at sales I am, like 100%. And the more confident I am, the better I show up for my team, the better I show up for clients. And so, yeah, it really just supports everything in my life.
Yeah, that keystone habit and that energy also as well helps you sleep better, right? Because you've got a lot of energy, you go burn it off. You have to go to bed at 9 if you wake up at 5:30 to work out at 6, right? Yeah. So it's just kind of all these things, all the dots, need to be dotted, the T's crossed to get to those levels of performance.
Totally. Yeah, they all support each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Well, I think we're bumping up. What do you think? I think we're bumping up against 5 o'clock. So James?
Chris
can't hear you. We can hear you though.
Oh, okay. So I'm not sure what
Chris
happened.
said, or James says it's 5 o'clock.
Yes. Yeah. So James, sorry about that. James, I guess something happened. Sorry, it dropped. So I thought that was outstanding. What do you think, James?
Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, no, sure. Why don't I do that? I think we already answered that. So why don't I just do a little outro? So you know, Quinton and Angie, I'm just, you know, so happy for you to come join and share about just the amazing progress you've made in our program. We're always so proud of all of our coaches, but even more so our senior coaches. And obviously, all the things you've shared here is why we are. So, so thanks so much, and let's go have an incredible 2025 and go support all those operators that we have in our program.
Ooh, let's go.
All right.
Thank you for having us, Chris.
Thank you.
Fantastic.